Happy Friday, and welcome to this week's edition of Shaynel's 3 Cents. I'm your host, the founder and executive director of Our Blended Family, Shaynel Caldwell, and again, we'd like to welcome you to the show this week. As we get started, for those of you that were able to catch up to us via social media, we just started our new Instagram page, so hopefully you all are able to follow us on Instagram at OBF4U on Instagram. Of course, we also have our Twitter account and our Facebook page. But in the spirit of sisterhood, we want to say, yay, welcome, congratulations. For those of you that are also following the news, we have 102 women that are now officially sitting in the Senate. So we're very excited. This has been the first time in history that we've had this many women represent our nation in Congress and in the House. And so it's kind of, as Mr. Trump says, it's a really big deal and it's a tremendous thing and it's all my fault. I get all the credit. But again, we're very excited that we're finally starting to see a nation that represents the people for who we are. We do know when we look at our population numbers from the most recent census, the last decennial, our population is still mostly women. And so it's really kind of astounding to see that when we look at the numbers in the House, over 500 in the House, and of course you have the 100 in the Senate, but you look and see that we still are less than a third of those numbers that make these laws. And most of the laws are things that affect women. Us as mothers, us as working women, us as sisterhood, us as contributors to society. But again, not that many of us are involved in actually making the laws. So again, this is a historic time for us as women. Those of you that are concerned about what's going on in your community, the things that are impacting your schools, when you're driving down the road and you're hitting these potholes, trying to figure out what's going on there, you're driving up to the gas station. Well, now is a good time. You're getting gas at 205, 207. But everything that impacts us in a community has a direct impact on our government, whether it's the local government, whether it's your city, state, and or the federal government. If you're concerned, it's time to get involved. Make sure now that the primary elections are over, make sure that you stay connected to things that are going on in your county so that you can see what's happening with your school board, so you can see things that are happening in the district. These things directly come out of local news and ultimately impact the federal government. So we have to make sure that we're paying attention to see what's happening to us as women. As we're paying attention, really eagerly paying attention to what's going to happen with our energy crisis and, our healthcare crisis, because we're looking to see whether or not this new Congress is trying to unseat and or uproot our Affordable Care Act, what we also refer to as Obamacare. And most of the people that utilize that are, again, most of the population, that it's us women. So we need to be involved. We need to know whether or not we're going to be able to get breast cancer screenings, whether or not we can get mammograms, or how much we're going to have to pay for them. We need to make sure that we're getting our well woman checks to make sure that we're healthy, that we're growing up emotionally healthy, making sure that our bodies are healthy. And we need to make sure that we can go to the doctors and that we can afford to do that. So again, we want to celebrate sisterhood today. And I think today is a great day because the Congress, again, just sat down yesterday. And again, we want to applaud Nancy Pelosi as a House Speaker. Woo! That she's back again, y'all. And she's going to handle some business. But if you want to make sure that you're also following what's going on, stay in tune. Know their numbers. They're all online. You can pick them up. Everybody got a 202 number in the House. Follow your representatives. Also get in touch with your local delegates to let them know, hey, this is how you feel about this particular proposition. This is how you feel about this particular bill that they're putting forward. And make sure that your vote counts, because whatever happens to you, happens to you. Again, you can either come to the table late or you can bring your own chair and find out what's going on and get involved. And so again, with that, we're going to go into our break and then come back with our guest, the wonderful, the beautiful Miss Charvette Kirkrush. We'll be looking forward to having her seated here as soon as we come back from the break. We'll see you shortly.
Owners looking for a place to advertise your business and promote your products and services? VoxWave is the right place. We have over 10,000 views a day and 70,000 listeners a month. For more information, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455.
VoxWave now features a streaming radio media player on our website's front page, where local artists can get their music played 24/7. For more information on getting your music in rotation or to perform live at our studio, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455.
Android users, the VoxWave app is now available in the Google Play Store. Download the app today on your Android device to listen in and view programs.
We here at Vox Wave believe that no one in the DMV should go without a coat this winter. So we partnered with Star Imports dealership for this year's annual coat drive. If you have an old or gently used coat that can still be worn, drop it off with us, Vox Wave Studios at 4711 Off Place, Suitland, Maryland, and give the gift of warmth to somebody in need in the DMV.
DJ Rick Entertainment.
DJ Rick Entertainment, hottest DJ in the DMV area, CEO of Step Your Game Up and the Youth Project Show, the DJ on the Heartbeat Conga Hour, and sound engineer for a variety of bands. DJ Rick Entertainment is your #1 company for all your stage and sound event needs. Call 202-390-1151. That's 202-390-1151.
DJ Rick Entertainment.
Welcome back. Again, we want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's edition of Shaynel's 3 Cents. And I have my host, my sister girl, my girlfriend, Miss Charvette Kirk-Rush. Hi, Shay. She is a credentialed domestic violence advocate, and we may touch on that a little bit later, but she is also the founder and executive director of Men Embracing Nonviolence organization. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with our guests, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, again, my name is Charvette Kirk-Rush, and I am the founder and the CEO of Men Embracing Nonviolence. Men Embracing Nonviolence was developed out of my thesis masterpiece at Lincoln University. That's where the birthplace of it was. Men Embracing Nonviolence, we engage, educate, and empower men that are victims of domestic violence, as well as we're trying to educate the community that men are victims of domestic violence as well.
I really love having you on here, especially on our first show of the year. But more importantly, do you typically find that people are somewhat in disbelief that men are victims of domestic violence?
Yes, the majority of people are in very much disbelief that men are victims of domestic violence because of the stigma associated with it. And when men report domestic violence, on the norm it's taken very lightly, because if he's a muscular guy and the female is a small woman, one would think or wonder, well, how could that happen? But domestic violence is not always physical either. Domestic violence is also verbal, emotional, and now that we have more women making lots more money, it can be financial. And one of the things that domestic violence touches on too is we use our children as bait as well in domestic violence situations.
Okay. When you're talking to your clients about such topics, do you, what type of approach do you use? Do you try to use a preventative approach, or do you try to go back into how did this start and where do we go from here? But what's the best way to try to get that information out and help victims heal?
I'm glad that you asked that question, because I'm in the process, I'm almost completed in writing my book. And one of the things that you have to address in domestic violence, you have to go to the root of it. And so what I try to do is go to the root of the problem. So I try to get down what happened in your childhood, because it stems from something. You just don't wake up and become a perpetrator or a victim of violence. Something had to happen in your childhood, in your teenage life, for this behavior to continue on either side. So I try to dig down and find out the root of the problem first, and then we can find some preventive measures to combat the issue.
Do you ever run into resistance from women that say, hey, why are you helping men? Why aren't you helping women?
No, not yet. And if I have, they haven't said it directly to me. I believe that women believe that it's happening. They just don't believe it's as much. And I believe it's 50-50.
Okay. I like that. We had a conversation last week, some of my family members, as we were celebrating and bringing in the new year, but we talked about the situation with Centoya Brown. And while we started the precursor to the conversation, the side joke was, well, this is what, if a woman has to do this to a man, a woman has to do something to a man. And we kind of joked, okay, well, wait a minute, before we get into the details of the case, what are you talking about? A woman has to do something to a man. And this particular person joked, well, if I have to lie to the police to get custody of my kids and to get the things that I want, then I don't mind that man going to jail. I don't mind saying that he hit me or he did these things to me. And I had to, I laughed. I did it. I'm going to have to watch out for her. So,
Right.
And so I think it is kind of concerning when we hear, our girlfriends, sisterhoods, we don't have to like each other, but we also have to understand that we stand in solidarity, that, we do inflict pain upon men. And oftentimes we do it without paying attention. But most of the times I think we do it out of spite. And so I'm concerned about, as Men Embracing Nonviolence moves forward, that women start to embrace that and understand that, what's the part that I play in this? And I guess the question that arises out of that is, how is it that we get people to accept responsibility for their part in the problems that happen?
Okay. I think one of the ways to get people to accept their part that they've played, we all have girlfriends that has done strange things, different things.
Oh, I like that, strange thing. Just call it a strange thing.
And we need to address them, pull them up on it. Hey, girl, do you really think that that's right? Or how about if that was done to you? Or, which was an eye-opener for me, suppose somebody did that to your son, because why would you do something to someone that you wouldn't want done to you? And I'm a firm believer of, we need to get back to treat people the way you want to be treated. So if that was your son, your brother, your father, would you want them, to be in that situation? No. So I think that we need to be honest with our girlfriends and tell them, that's not cool. Don't do that. And stop participating in the behavior. Let's drive by and egg his car. Let's slash the tires.
Let's go follow him.
Yeah, let's go follow him. And clearly, your girlfriend, is
crazy.
Crazy, right? So I think the first thing is addressing the matter to your girlfriend, your sister, your mother, your aunt, whoever it is. address it, stand tall in what you believe. That's the first step, being honest with people.
Absolutely, absolutely. We tend to see that a lot, that we talk about, oh, well, that's my girl, I got her back, and we certainly want you to have your girlfriend's back. You know, women need support, you know, people need support. But it is different when you look at the problem as if it impacts yourself and or your family. I'm a divorced mother of 2, and I have a son, and my son is, him and his girlfriend, they making me a grandma. So I'm looking forward to that. But I've also been on that side where I've had to give her the side. I'd be like, what you say about my son?
Right.
What you doing to my son?
Right.
What are your intentions with my son? And so that always makes me reflect back to when I was single and when I was dating, you know, pre-marriage, you know, what were some of the things that I said and did to men that I knew were wrong, you know, and or that I was thinking about, contemplating doing, and I'm like, okay, Lord, please don't let that happen to my son. This is my child. You know, I don't want that to happen to him.
Right. That's interesting that you say that, because a few years ago, my son was in high school, and he was coming back from a football game, and there was just 2 young ladies outside, and I knew he was dating one of them, but the other one,
He wasn't dating both of them.
Wait a minute. So they're going back and forth, and I'm like, okay, you know, not paying it no attention. So everyone gets off the bus. My son's the last one off the bus. So I'm like, you know, okay, so he gets off the bus, and these 2 young ladies, they are getting ready to attack him, literally. And I jumped out the car. Needless to say, you know, I had to have a conversation with him. Hey, son, you cannot date 2 women at the same place. Well, first of all, you can't date 2 women, period. But let alone in the same
Wait, did
school.
you say can or can't?
Can't. And also, I had to have a conversation with the young ladies immediately. Hold up. This is when the Chris Brown and Rihanna around that time. You cannot approach him like that. I understand you may be upset with him. Let's talk about this. What is going on? And then it opened the door for me to have a conversation with my son. Hey, son, you know, this is behaviors that I've seen with me and, you know, with as far as the young lady. So now it's trending down to my son. Let's have some conversations about how do we date, and which a lot of people don't talk to their kids about, especially boys. Oh, he's a boy. No, we don't do that. There's ways to date. You break up with one, you go with the other or whatever. You don't date 2 women at the same time, let alone at the same school. Your school's small, you went to a private school, so how could you do this? But anyway, it was an opportunity for me to have a conversation with the young ladies. That was really my concern, because you cannot jump in a man's face all the time. Every man has not been trained, or boy, not to put their hands on you. And they was out for the attack. So it even went as far as I had to contact a school and was like, hey, you know, I don't, you know, this happened, you know, someone needs to have a conversation, because suppose I wasn't there, you know, or would it have been a situation, funny, but would they have jumped him, you know, and, you know, I don't know. But we need to have conversations with our daughters about keeping your hands to yourself, as well as our sons, on how to date. That's very important.
Yeah,
I was one of them young ladies that you made me mad. Pop, no, you don't do that.
We had my son in a previous long-term relationship, you know, and I loved her dearly as well. You know, she got scrutinized, as they all will. But their relationship ended up culminating into a domestic dispute where apparently, and of course this is the information that I got, but apparently there were some verbal exchanges that had happened, and my son also knew, you know, growing up with me and our blended family with his father and his stepmom, he was accustomed to verbal abuse, but he also knew, you know, hands-on, we're not doing hands-on.
Right.
You put your hands on some woman, we all go jump you and beat
Right.
you up. And look, and as your family member and in the name of love.
Right.
But he ended up telling us that his girlfriend at the time jumped on him, and then I guess she had called her mother, and the mother tried to jump on him too.
Wow.
And so he ended up having to call the police, and the police came out, you know, and after listening to her story and listening to her mother's story and listening to him, the police ordered them to leave because he could see through, you know, the lies and the animosity that they were, you know, trying to shed. And because the place was in his name, they said, well, you know, you have to leave. This is his place. If he asked you to leave, you need to leave. And so, I mean, I was literally I'm 6 hours away. I'm like, I'm about to be on this plane to get her and her mama because we don't,
right.
You're not going to treat my son like this.
Right.
And I had to, have I done that to anybody? You know, so again, we really do have to start checking ourselves and being mindful as we get older that, you know, we may have brothers, you know, we may have cousins and guy friends that we want to see being treated with respect by women and not being dogged out.
Right.
So.
I agree. I most certainly agree. And even though my son is grown now, we still have conversations about, you know, relationships, you know, so does she do this, does she do that? Because I know who I raised, you know, but I don't know how that other young lady was raised, you know, so we have to have these kinds of conversations. And I always ask my son this question. I think it's a very profound question. Does she have a male role model in her life? That's very important because he's not equipped to be a daddy. Her daddy, a baby daddy, nobody's daddy. So I always ask him those questions because she needs that male to go to or someone to look up to or someone that she has a template on how my son should treat her. So we have these conversations often.
And that's actually something that we touched on the week before last with my previous guest. We talked about how we see a lot of women that say, well, I want a real man and you not a real man and you should do this. But I'm like, but your daddy was nowhere to be found. So how did you know what a real man is? Or did you learn, or have you had other, you know, influential men in your life? And or how do you classify a real man if you haven't had exposure and or experience with a real man?
That's a very good question. When I was married and we used to get into it, I'm like, you ain't have a father. You ain't have a father. And one day he said, well, you didn't even. I'm like, oh. And it was so true. and it was so true. And when we divorced and I actually dug down and find out, you know, where did I go wrong at? And I didn't have a father, so I didn't have a template. I didn't know what to look for, or who to look for, or how to look for them. Or
well, you did have a template. Let me interrupt you, because you grew up in America, so you had Walt Disney and all the princess stories that you was going to find.
Bill Cosby, the Huxtables, right? So I didn't know, and you know, and so that's when I had to develop a deeper relationship with God, because it was too late to go, but my dad was dead. So I had, you know, it was too late for me to, can you be my daddy? Can you be my daddy? So I had to develop a relationship with God to understand what was my role and what's the do's and the don'ts of a relationship. Now, am I still learning? Absolutely. Absolutely, you know, but it's the reality of the matter. But he shocked me when he was like, you ain't have a father either. I was like, oh, yeah, you got a good point there, you know, so.
Okay. Okay, well, let's reel back a little bit, because I want to touch on something that you said previously about how women engage in acts of domestic violence against women. Sure. And in my household, and you guys know me, you know, my name is not only Shaynel, but my name is also Frank. I saw women in my family frequently telling men and censor folks, you ain't shit, you know, nigga, you ain't shit, you ain't gonna be shit, you this, and that. And we saw them oftentimes pushing the men out of their lives, you know, so the boyfriend that came and went, the guy friend that was just platonic that came and went. But I was raised by watching women alienate men and demasculize them to show that, you know, I don't care about you, I don't need you. But then, you know, they would turn around in their corner and start crying, oh, I wish I had a man, I wish I had a man. You know, so do you see that often, you know, in your studies and your interactions with
Yes, I see it often, and I was raised with it just as well as you were, and probably a million of us other women. I was raised with, you don't only need a man for one thing. So when he walked past the trash or walked past the eviction notice and the turn-off notice, don't be mad, because you only needed him for that one thing.
And what was that one
thing? You only needed him for that one thing. And I had to retrain my thought process to say that the majority of the women in my family, the majority of people in my family are women, and the majority is single. So I had to retrain my thinking process, and like I do need and want a man, not just to, for that, but I do need the companionship, the love, not at the expense of abuse or anything of that sort. But yes, I do want and desire a relationship. And again, that's during that time where I had to dig way deep down and find out, who are you? What have you been doing? You was told all wrong, and you need to retrain your thought process.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's important for us to. I think it's important for us to have this conversation because we still see that. I have. My sister works with young teenagers. I used to work with teenagers, and so we watch a lot of these young people, and even some of the colleagues that I work with. They see the young kids at school that are not only being quote unquote, because everything is disrespectful.
Yes.
When you 17 and under, everything is disrespectful.
Right.
But talking nasty to other people, not only talking nasty to, but they're recording it on their cameras. Oh, she said this, and you this, and this, but showing that that other person is not valued or their value is less than yours. And ultimately, it's us women that are perpetrators because we know women talk more than men. That whole don't be about it, don't say it, just be about it. Men don't do a lot of talking, but it's us women. And that usually tends to be the precursor, and a lot of the studies that I also read about domestic violence, that the talk that women do can oftentimes be a precursor to what happens next, because sometimes it's not the situation, but it's also your reaction to a situation. Now, of course, that will be barring, any other psychological issues that, a man might have. But if we learn how to communicate with each other better, is that something that can help us start to quell issues of domestic violence in our community?
Yes, I believe that it will. As I stated previously, I think that one thing is get to know people and get to know their past. Now, you don't have to dig the first day and find out everything, but it is good to know, where's your parents married? Did your mom, leave your dad for another man and remarry somebody else? Where's there violence in the house? Things that we do need to have those conversations when we are in relationships, because all too often you get in relationships, you get married, you do all these wonderful things, and then you find out, I didn't know he was like this or she was like this and all. That's because you didn't take time out to ask the questions and you didn't pay attention to the signs, because I don't think people are equipped to hide who they really are for an extended period of time. But we have a time frame on everything. I want to be married in 6 years. I want to be married in 6 months or to a year, instead of taking time out to find out who people really are. And I'm speaking, this is for me. I've been dating for a year and a half. But the blessing is, I ain't dating nobody for 6 months and all that. But we have grown so much after this year and a half, and it was so well needed. And I am so glad that we did not rush and get married. Now, is marriage still on the horizon? Absolutely. But the blessing is we had the opportunity to really sit down and talk about his family, my family. How did you grow up? How did I grow up? What do you want to do better, different? Did it bother you? Did it not bother you? Those are things that we don't even ask. And when people say they don't want to talk about it, to me, that's a red flag.
We've had, and actually we've seen this a lot in society where people, and you mentioned a little bit earlier about dating and how we figure out where we want to be, because I see all those memes that, I'm not going to be with somebody for 3 years and I'm dating with a purpose. And I'm like, okay, but do you understand, what dating is? That's that getting to know each other phase. And when you get to know someone, you hopefully are talking to them and not just watching a movie and Netflixing and chill all day and all that good stuff. But when you learn how to talk to someone and allow them to talk back, you can see those red flags because they're usually bright red. And, someone responds, snarkily, or, you're out at the restaurant and, the waiter says, well, sir, I thought you wanted orange juice. And I didn't tell you to bring me no orange. Okay, yeah.
And he flips the table over, right? Right.
So, again, all of that is part of that communication and getting to know, these are things that, one, we need to find out some more information about, and or maybe I need to talk to you differently.
Right.
And or maybe I don't need to be talking to you at all. So I think that kind of does go with that, learning how to communicate and finding out about someone before you end up all of a sudden this is where we are.
Gathering data. dating is gathering data.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. Yeah. And I'm gonna disagree with you on that. You can only date one person at one time, because I think you should date as many people at one time as you want to.
Well, I don't think so. And I'm gonna tell you why I don't think so. I think that I look at that as multitasking, and multitasking
I'm good at multitasking.
is unhealthy. It's unhealthy. Multitasking is unhealthy to me. And I think that now, when you first start dating, now, of course, you should date several people. But when you know it's getting ready to get...
Now, that's different. That's that whole exclusive.
Oh, okay.
That's that whole exclusive. We're dating exclusively.
Right, okay. But when you originally meet people, then yes. Let the world know, yes. When you originally meet people, yes. You can't
Are you
date.
seeing somebody? Yes, I am. Would you like me to see you too? Sure. I can pencil you in my schedule. No. That whole, for me, it's that, like you said, getting to know someone. I've always been one of those women that, you know, I can see a man from across, oh, dang, he looked really nice. And then he turn around and he got a cigarette. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to be enough for me.
Right.
You know, or, you know, we're talking, hey, well, you know, it's been a pleasure, you know, talking to you. Hey, can I meet you for, you know, for lunch or something? Sure. We get to the table. He put his hands on the table and he got nasty hands. Yeah, well, I can't meet you nowhere ever again, because, you know, little things that turn off. So that's what I deem part of that dating, getting to know someone. Oh, okay, I've gone out with you. I've realized that you can't hold a conversation. So yeah, I'm done with you. I've gone out with you. You know, I've realized that you talk nasty to the waiters and you were rude to the people at the restaurant. So yeah, I'm done with you as well. So that's that general part of getting to know, you know, am I interested in this person? Do I think this person might be compatible? Can we have one or two dates? But I believe once you get to that point, as you said, that, you know, hey, I really like you, and let's just you and me go to this next step and continue to date exclusively.
Right. So let me go back to when I was saying that about the incident with my son. Apparently, no one had that conversation for both of the young ladies to be upset. So, of course, if that's understood, you know, that we're going to date openly, yes, that's one thing. But if the other individual think that you're exclusive and you're not, that's what I was referencing. Okay.
I believe, you know me, I'm being snarky.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, it's that let's talk about it. You know, sometimes we, and I'm also a big proponent, you know, even though you guys know I'm a habitual offender of hurting people's feelings, I do believe that there's a time and a place for everything.
Right.
And even though you may need to tell, you know what, I've decided that I don't want to see you anymore. I know your dog just died. Let's talk about this tomorrow. You know, so there are times and a place. There are a time and a place for everything. But some things you need to have conversations about.
Yes, I agree.
And don't be blindsided. Well, he never told me. Well, did you ever ask?
Yes, I agree. And that's to getting to know that person, you know, before we jump into other areas. I agree.
Okay.
Yep.
So going back to, we're going to circle right back to this whole sisterhood thing. Okay. So the two girls, and we've seen this before. I was reading an article last night. Apparently, for those of you that follow the Washington Redskins, apparently the charges against, I think his name is Ruben. Is it Ruben? Yeah, the new draftee that came. But apparently the charges against him, and you all forgive me, I'm going to pull his name up a little bit later, but the charges against him were dropped for the domestic violence allegations against him. Reuben Foster, thank you so much. But the charges of domestic violence that were against him, placed by his ex-girlfriend, were recently dropped. Apparently, they released some photos. I know they said she had some bruising on her face, and he had also, you know, pushed her and tore up her phone and all that great stuff. But they did ultimately drop the charges. And as I was also reading through the case, she had also, and I didn't see this, she was on ABC News sharing her story and talking about how, you know, this wasn't the first time that this had happened. We had been in a relationship before where I was a victim of abuse, and he had hit me and done some other physical violence towards me. But the main point that I heard in the story, and this is all I heard after everything, it just kind of drowned out, is when I went to see him in San Francisco for that particular incident, he asked me to come see him. He flew me in to come see him. We spent some time together. And I told him that I was going to tell his girlfriend that he flew me in to see him. This is how this whole thing started. So, going back to the sisterhood thing, is you wrong if you messing with somebody's boyfriend?
Oh, Jesus.
And then it all blow up. And then it all blows up. Because it happens. I mean, and I think that it's unfortunately something that's going to happen. But we have to come to a point to where we have to start looking at our girlfriend, sister, and like, okay, am I, stepping across that line? Am I stepping across? And what are my motivations for why I'm doing this? Is it just money, or is it because I want her to know that we still together? I'm like, okay, but you still the side chick. So help me out with that one, Shaka. Help me out with that one.
Well, that's kind of interesting that you just brought that up. The gentleman that I'm dating he's very physically fit. And where he works at, he was sharing some of the things that the ladies say to him. And I'm saying to myself, really? Women really say and act like that? Like, let me touch your biceps, or, things of, things of that sort. And I'm saying to myself, are we that thirsty? I mean, what happened to the man chasing you and, you ignoring him and not paying him? I mean, men don't have to work no more. I mean, it's like, everything is just given. And I'm amazed, and I really pay attention to, how men talk and all that. And if you listen to the majority of, what the men say on social media and stuff, ladies, they are not happy about how we are performing. I mean, we're just coming on, we're just giving up everything, and I mean, and they don't have to work for nothing. They don't have to work for nothing.
Let me emphasize what I said earlier. Okay. Yes, we women are that thirsty. And I say we because I'm a woman too. Yeah. And so ultimately we fall into that category. And I think we also tend to forget that just because a man will have sex with you doesn't mean that he likes you. So he called me. Did he call you before 10 o'clock? Does he see you before 10 o'clock? Have you seen him in the daytime? Have you seen him out on social media or anything like that? But I mean, I think that, again, it's that non-understanding of how people operate and how people move, and what you're willing to settle for. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, I can say that I've been there, done that. I have crossed that line with, dating somebody else. But that whole, I'm putting this out, I'm telling everybody, I'm trying to cause you harm because of this. Ultimately, we need to recognize, again, the motivation for it, and how am I doing better by myself for it? That ultimate, I could do better than this. I should be doing better than this because I'm the only one that can live my life. Right. And I ultimately have to live with the consequences of the decisions that I make. So when we see women behaving badly, it's a reflection on all of us. Yeah, it is. It's a reflection on all of us.
It really is. And if we listen to some things that the men say, because his response to me was, if I did, I only would want one thing. And I'm like, ladies, we are so more valuable than what's between our legs.
Again, what is this one thing you keep talking about? I can't figure this one out.
And as Shay stated, I was one of them ladies too, but I had to learn and grow, trial, error, bump, bruises, and I had to be like, no, I'm more valuable than that. I do have a brain. I do have a brain.
And to the sisters that don't, you can get one, boo. It's never too late. Like I said, we grow and learn every day.
Yes, every Jesus, day. We do.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit. Still talking about sisterhood, but let's talk about parenting. As I mentioned before, I'm a single, divorced mother of two. Yay! All right, what about yourself? Tell us your dating, parental background, and all that good stuff. Since we know you have a child.
I am a divorced mother of one. And what else you do? I am a divorced mother of one, and I co-parented with my son's father. And at the beginning, I was the mom at the courthouse, kick, screaming, hollering, because I grew up in the dynamic that mom is supposed to have the kid. And he said, I'm not trying to take our child from you. I just want what you have, joint custody, everything down the middle. No, I'm mom and I want this. Well, as time went on, it was one of the best things that has ever happened, because us having joint custody allowed me to go back to school and get my master's degree. Not only that, he did doctor's appointments. He did the dentist. When our son was sick, he stayed home. He dropped off. He picked up. He did homework. Everything was not on me. And our son turned out to be okay. I mean, there are some things that we could have done differently, like not waste so much money and time in court arguing over nothing. However, it was one of the better decisions for our son. And about 13, 14, our son told us both that he's happy with the decision that we made because he had an opportunity to spend time with both parents. He was with mom and dad, equal time, holidays, birthdays, Christmas, vacations, and there were times that we would switch things around to make it work. But for the most part, excuse me, for the most part, our son had an opportunity to share with mom and dad, and we did have some battles and some struggles, you know, because we're both bullheaded. I want this, I want that, I want this. But then as time moved on, we both realized it wasn't worth it and to do what was best for our son. And that's what we did. And now our son's 21 and he's okay.
Thriving.
Yep,
thriving.
Yep.
We're going to put up something on the screen. You guys know that I love memes. And Charvette and our stories are really similar. One about our co-parenting and recognizing the importance of having the child's father in their lives. But we were both that whole, well, he a deadbeat, he ain't doing this, he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that's not really true. That's that animosity talking. Mm-hmm. So for those of you on Facebook, hold tight while we put this up on the screen. The meme that's on the screen, did it pop up? No. Okay, well, we look like we might be having some technical difficulties, but we're going to keep it moving then if it's not popping up. Okay. All right, the meme on the screen, it says, it's a woman holding a baby, and she says, I don't always accuse my ex of being a deadbeat, but when I do, it's usually after I refuse to let him see his child. And
yeah.
So that stood out to me because I remember, you know, in the beginning, I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And I had a lot of nerve because I was working 50 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't the one taking my kids to school, you know, making sure that my daughter was getting her diapers changed at 2 and all that good stuff because I was busy running the street, but I still didn't want him to do it.
Exactly.
I don't know when I was going to find time to do it. I didn't want him to do it. So, yeah, there was a lot of that bad mouthing going on early in the beginning. And as you mentioned, you know, going to court, isn't it free to go to court?
Listen, I spend so much money on my divorce. It's not even funny that I probably could have put my son through college and we didn't have anything.
That bears repeating. Can you say that one more time?
I spend so much money on my divorce and that I could have put my son down through college and we didn't have anything. What was we arguing and fussing about over? Nothing.
Just to be arguing and to say, look, and to be able to share with the women in your family, like the other bitter women in your family. Yeah, I told him this, and I told him he couldn't do this, and I told him he couldn't do that. But again, ultimately, it's recognizing that, hey, having dad in my child's life, in my children's lives, benefited me.
Right.
It benefited me.
Right. And I want to pause right here to say something about that. My son's father was relentless. And I appreciate that. At first, I was like, man, he's better. But he was relentless. I mean, he made sure he was in his son's life. And when our son turned 13, and if anybody have a 13-year-old, you know how they start changing. I had to call him up on Father's Day. I was like, I thank you for being there because I don't know if I could have done this without you. And I literally mean that because I didn't know he was changing. He was 13. He wasn't no longer my little boy no more. And, you know.
Other than that onion under his arm. 13. What's the?
Yeah. And so I relied on his father for a lot, you know, as far as rearing him, raising him, because in everything he would laugh about. Everything was a joke. And I'm like, he's doing this and he's doing that. And he was like, I'll take care of it, you know, I'll talk to him. But I did not understand a lot. And let me pause right here to say this, too. Women, you can raise a son, but what you cannot do is teach them how to be a man.
Where's the mic?
You can raise a son. My mother has raised 2 sons, but I promise you, their experience with manhood came from other men and not my mother.
That's right.
And they turned out to be great, but you cannot do it. You can raise them, but you can't teach them manhood.
That's right. That's right. Now, when your ex-husband was involved in making sure that, you know, your son had everything that he needed? Was he alone in doing it?
No, my ex-husband had a wife. He remarried right after we divorced. And again, I kicked, screamed, and hollered about that. But again, that was a blessing for me too, because we partnered. Her and I partnered, we collaborated, and we made sure things got done for our son. As you well know, there's just certain stuff that men are not going to pay attention to, think about, you know, and that's okay. You know, don't make them bad people, bad parents. That's just how they're wired. But her and I collaborated on school clothes, picking up, dropping off.
Doctor's appointments.
Mm-hmm. Barbershop appointments. You know, it got so great that she was a phenomenal cook. So when she used to bring him dinner from football practice, she would bring me dinner too. I mean, great. So we collaborated on it. We left all that animosity aside, and we did what we had to do to raise our son. So our son had 3 parents. He had his mom, his dad's wife, you know, which was his mother, and then he had me. So he had 3 parents. And also, I kind of like pushed my son more to stay at his dad's house because he was used to being in a mother-father home. So there he had a mother and father. I was single, so he wanted to be at his dad's house more, so that's where he spent the majority of his time, at his dad's house.
This is why I just love you so much. Aside, look, because our stories are so parallel, but being able to recognize and see that another person, and not just a person, a parent and a mother recognizes the importance of having a dad in their child's life, and recognizing that their father having a wife, a girlfriend, anybody that's there to be able to support that child and making a relationship and a friendship with them is very impactful on how your child will ultimately grow up to be, on who they'll grow up to be, and the contributions that they'll make to society because of their emotional health. You know, it's directly contingent upon, you know, how those kids are raised and in their families.
I agree.
So I certainly applaud you on that. So as we get ready to close these last 10 minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little fun and ask you some questions. You have some cards here in front of you about what your answers will be to these random hey sister girl notes. So again, viewers, pay attention. I'm going to ask a question, and then both Charvette and I are going to show you our cards and our responses to these sample questions as they flow through. So the first question, is a man's ability to be a parent contingent upon his money, his status, or his personal belongings? Is his ability to be a parent contingent upon those things? Yes or no? Oh, see, we both got no. So why is it that sometimes we go to court and we say, well, he can't be a good dad because he ain't got a car. He can't be a good dad because he ain't got no job.
And he didn't have that when you got pregnant. Oops.
Hello.
I think that we're messed up about what parenting should look like. And if those of us that was born in the 60s and 70s, if that's the case, our parents wasn't equipped to be parents either because they ain't have no cars. You might have was living with grandma getting welfare cheese, you know, whatever. But
that good government
cheese. But our parents were still good parents because it's the core of them that made us who we are, and which made them very, very good parents. And we have one TV, and that was black and white, and you had antennas and all that. But we
don't forget the foil and the antenna.
Yeah, and the foil. But we still had good parents. So no, I don't think material things make you a good parent.
Awesome. I concur. Next question. Should a woman consider motherhood before having sex with a man?
Yes. Oh. Yes.
I'm going to say no.
What?
And let me tell you why. Because men don't. And this is me being sarcastic, of course. But everything that happens to us as a society, as a group, and we're going to ignore some of the comments from the peanut gallery, but people become here on this earth because 2 people had sex. And we don't think about, oh, she looking good, but dang, I wonder if she gonna pick my kid up on time. Or dang, I wonder if she gonna give me grief when I'm trying to buy my son a
But to me, that's more of a reason to consider it.
Oh, no, I'm in agreement. I was just being sassy.
Oh, okay. I think because you don't know, even though you got condom on, it could bust, anything can happen. Yeah, you should consider it. Most definitely.
I remember my mother telling my brother, and I was ear hustling. I wasn't even supposed to be in the room, but I remember my mother telling my brother, don't be having sex with no woman that you don't want to be the mother of your child. And I remember thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because, having sex with women ultimately can produce a child. Ta-da! So, okay, question number 3. Are women responsible for birth control? Yes or no?
Now, wait a minute. Are women responsible for birth control? Their own, yes. Their own, yes.
Okay. Yes. Are men responsible for birth control?
Their own, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Should a woman date a man with more than one child?
That's a loaded question.
I'm going to say no because I don't like nobody's kids but my own. No, okay.
That's a loaded question. I think it all depends on the person and where they are in their life. Because if that's the case, my mama had 3. So I think that's a yes and no. It depends on the person and what you're willing to tolerate or what you're not willing to tolerate. That depends on you, where you are in life. But be honest with yourself about where you are, because if you're dating someone, you have a grown child and you're dating someone with younger children, you run the risk of, being dragged in and out of court or, the hospital or the doctors or wherever. So really be honest with yourself about what you're willing or not to tolerate.
Yeah, I actually have a good friend that was dating a gentleman, awesome gentleman. I'm like, girl, you got you a good catch, great job, great dad, great position in the community, and he had smaller kids. And her child was actually getting ready to graduate. Her son was getting ready to graduate high school, and she was like, I don't want any more kids, but I just really enjoy this guy, but I can't stand his kids. What should I do? And I said, girl, you better run. Look, unless you're just trying to have an intimate relationship with this man, you need to leave him alone. Leave him and his kids alone. If you don't want to be bothered with the kids, don't put him in a position where he's planning and making future plans for you. So I certainly agree. It's what is it that you want to do, and be realistic about what your expectations are.
It's a package deal.
Okay.
It's a package deal.
Okay, next question. Should a woman try to befriend and or socialize with the mother of her man's child and or children?
Whew. Well, I say yes, because it could be both of them. Mainly, prayerfully, it could be yes.
Yeah, in all seriousness, it should be yes.
Because it's for the betterment of the child,
Look, us co-parenting advocates. No, don't be her friend. No. But you're saying that it's...
I think, yes, it's for especially when you have to make sure both parties are mature. There's no hidden agendas, and I don't mean anything stupid. I mean real mature people. And I think that, yes, because it's for the betterment of the child.
Part of it, just adding to the community.
And I can honestly say our son has a phenomenal relationship with his other mother. He has a phenomenal relationship with me. And, I don't tread on her territory. She doesn't tread on mine. He knows I had him. I don't have to be like, I'm your mother. Was I like that at one time? Absolutely. But I don't have to. So I think it's for the betterment of the child.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can, I'm kind of giddy because y'all know my stepwife, her daughter had a baby, so I'm a step grandmama now. And I had to call and make sure she got my Christmas gift for her grandbaby and all that good stuff. So again, it's making sure that we can contribute, to our village and enhance our village with our love and support. So, last question. Should it be okay that a man dates a woman but doesn't want to spend time with her children?
Again, well, how did they go into the relationship? Did they meet and say, I want to touch your biceps?
They met at the gym.
I want to touch your biceps. It all depends. But if the relationship is serious, I would say no.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that goes back to, what we talked about earlier, communicating and understanding what is it that you want out of this relationship. Yeah, exactly. Is this going to be do you want to hang out and, go places with the kids and go for walks on the National Harbor or wherever we're going, or do you just want to come over after 10 o'clock?
And
so,
ladies,
again, depends on the type of relationship you want.
Yeah, I agree. And ladies, don't be afraid to say what you want. Mm-hmm. If you want a relationship that ultimately may lead to marriage, then say that. If you don't want that, then say that. Say what you want. I often describe it as getting in a car and you just going in circles and you don't know where you're going. No, I need to know where this is going. So there's nothing wrong with ladies in being clear in the destination.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you're not going to have roadblocks and road bumps along the way.
Detours,
Look, and it also doesn't mean that you may have to pull over on the side and exchange your passenger, but you still know where you want to go. So we're going to keep that one moving.
Pick up other passengers, right?
Look, be like, yeah, this your stop right here. You got to get out.
No, this ain't where I was going to get off at.
So again, I want to say thank you so much, Charvette, for coming out and be on my show. We'll certainly have to have you back later this year so we can discuss some additional things that are going on. So as we get ready to close, do you want to share with our viewers anything that you have coming up that they should be looking forward to?
Well, the one thing that I have coming up is my book is Perpetrate Her to Overcome Her. And it's my story about how I was a victim of domestic violence, and then I became a perpetrator of domestic violence. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that book, because it's going to really pull apart a lot of things that concerns women and how the dynamics of your family plays a very important part of really who you are today. Even though you might not want to face it, but you have to connect the dots from your childhood to your adulthood.
Okay, awesome. And how can our viewers get in touch with you via social media or website?
My social media, I'm on Facebook, is Charvette, CharVette, Shirk, SHIRK, Rush, on Facebook. And my email address is very long, so I wouldn't give you that right now. But you can contact me at 240-495-0701. Again, it's 240-495-0701, and I can give you my email address at that time, or you can text me. That's fine as well.
Okay, awesome. And we'll also have her information on our OBF Facebook page. You can follow her there, or you'll also be able to pull her information up off of our OBF website. Again, that website address is www.obf.org. So again, we want to say thank you so much for coming out. And we certainly wish you much growth and blessed success with Men Embracing Nonviolence. And again, we want to say thank you too for tuning in to the show today. Those of you out in TV land, my homies that have been furloughed, chilling at home, look, going on some weeks. But again, make sure you do everything that you can to improve your life, improve your community, and improve your society. And we hope, as always, you appreciate everything that we talked about today. But if not, at least you heard it. We'll see you back here next week on Shaynel's 3 Cents.